Good evening, or morning, or afternoon, depending on where and when you are listening to this. Ladies and gentlemen, fish and aliens, that's right. It is time once again for the two worst 120 minutes in all of sports. Even more now when you consider that we have appendices that come out. Yes, pun intended. That's right. Once again, it is time for the Too Many Guys Soccer Show. I am Mike, and I am joined, as always, by my faithful partner in all things podcasting, producer Stead. How goes it this evening?
It's going pretty good. It's always a good day to take a break from life and come out here and be able to just talk a little bit of football. Want to give a shout, though. I did this a couple of years ago when PAOK won the Greek League. And I think we got to throw out some love to Trabzonspor in Turkey with their first Turkish SuperLeague title after 38 years in the league. I think it's fantastic when just a club that just battles, able to overcome the hump of a big three type of league. And, with Fenerbahce and Galatasaray and Beşiktaş in Turkey have been just so dominant in the Super League over the history of that league, to get another club to come in and get a win is really, really exciting, especially when it's not a team that's solely based in Istanbul. Is really, really, really cool. So shout out to Trabzonspor for your first title, and look forward to seeing you in Europe next year.
And it won't be the first time. I mean, there's a team that has recently qualified for Europe. We've seen them. They've given some teams some trouble.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But they got the automatic Champions League qualification. So that's great.
And they're into the Champions League proper, where I am sure when and if they make it to the group stages, and I believe it's automatic group stage qualification.
I'm pretty sure it is for Turkey.
They will no doubt give some teams some trouble.
Hey, Turkish teams have caused problems. I mean, they may not semifinal or final or anything like that, but they're not an easy out, and it's a trip. It's a long trip to get over there to play your away leg too. And as an Arsenal supporter, I can tell you that playing against those clubs is not always a good experience.
As a Manchester United supporter who has lost there recently, and can remember signs going into Galatasaray that said, "Welcome to hell," and they proceeded to back it up. No, it is not a fun trip, number one. Number two, they are very passionate, the Turks, about their football and their teams, and they're very passionate supporters. The Turkish league may not be at its peak in terms of the strength, where you had teams like Fenerbahce and Galatasaray making it out of the group stage with some regularity, like they did earlier in the 21st century and at the latter half of the 90s and times like that. But it's still a tough league.
Yeah. And the party, boy, whoa, the images from that where they put every rave I've been to on blast, man, with the lights and the drones flying over and everything like that. I mean that looked
well. If you've got 38 years to plan a party, you better plan a doggone good one.
Absolutely. They're showing everybody how it's done. That's the way to do it. It's much better than some parade that happens at noon where everybody's just drinking a few beers and then goes back to work. That's not the way to do it. This is the way to do it.
Yeah. Mike Shoestack sent us the picture. I guess it's got to be like a five-a-side team or something like that, parading with the six guys on top of the double-decker bus with a fake trophy driving through the streets.
Oh. Yep.
Typical parade in the UK. Now,
absolutely.
While we're giving shots out, we got some news that one of the guys, we haven't seen him recently, but he is an ardent member and much beloved member of this team. Our good friend Andy the Hammer, covering the Baltimore Orioles now.
Yeah, he got picked up. He's going to be their beat writer for the Baltimore Sun. So we have a resident sports writer who's climbing the ladder, man. It's pretty soon we're going to be seeing him on ESPN giving shots about what's going on in Baltimore. So that's great.
It gets real scary now when he does this, because then we've got to be real professional.
I know.
He's like a legit journalist.
I can't have my daughter's stuff on in the background. I know that. I got to get her toys out of the way before I come on here.
Or I don't know. I may have to shave.
Yeah, for real. That's not fun.
We're going to have to up our game if we've got a real live, honest journalist. But we'll wait until he gets on ESPN and he gets too big for us, and then we'll say we knew him well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, we are getting down to the business end of the season. We got a lot of stuff coming up. We'll be talking to our good friend Los a little bit about Spurs and their continued quest to crack the top four. And of course, Carlo Ancelotti winning the manager's Grand Slam, a championship in all 5 of the leagues, and then I should have texted Los and had him bring a picture to lead in with Carlo Ancelotti surrounded by his team with sunglasses on, smoking a cigar.
Yeah,
it's like the most Italian thing ever.
Absolutely. He was having a good old time.
The only things that are more representative that I have seen recently were, and this is an old picture, but I saw it recently because they put it up after Thomas Mueller signed his new contract. Thomas Mueller wearing a championship jersey, drinking beer out of a boot is the most German thing. The only thing that would have made Ancelotti's picture better was if he had a glass of Chianti with his cigar.
Yeah, absolutely. He was even like playing jokes on the players, tapping him on the shoulder, making them look the wrong way. He looked like he was having a great time. But I think, though, I feel like this should be a bigger deal than it is to win a league title in the 5 major leagues. And I know that kind of shifts, but that's quite impressive to say you won a league title in Italy, Germany, England, and Spain, and France. Is even though France kind of bumps up and down depending on how good Portugal does in the Champions League, but I think that is that's quite an accomplishment. That shows some longevity, but as we've seen, just because you get picked up by one of these top clubs, especially ones that have quite a high turnover rate, you're not guaranteed you're going to be there long enough to be one of those championship teams, even if it's one that they win quite often. So I think he's got that definitely puts him in the upper echelon for great football managers that have come out of Europe. I think he's got to be up there, because it's one of those things that I read and went, you know what, it's actually quite an accomplishment. It just didn't really stick with me at first, but as I thought about it, I said, that's very impressive. Very impressive.
If he wins the Champions League with Real Madrid this year, he will break the record the modern record that he currently holds. I know Zinedine Zidane has 3, and I know there's one other manager who's currently Alex Ferguson has 2, but there's one other manager who has 3. So not only would he have won a trophy in each one of the 5 leagues, but he would be the tops in terms of managers winning the Champions League in the modern era. I agree with you. I think he is a fantastic manager. I think he's gotten over time's reputation as a bit of a nomad. He's done well, but he's not somebody, especially since he left like AC Milan back in the day, who has tended to stick and stay at a job for any more than a couple 3 years. But I also think that's the modern football manager. Let's get past the ideas of the days of Sir Alex Ferguson and some of these guys where you're going to be at the same club for 20 some odd years.
Yeah, the Arsene Wenger, Alex Ferguson years are long gone. Yeah, those are long gone.
Liverpool and City fans take note. We've already heard rumblings that Pep may leave after next season, I think, which would be his 6th?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is quite a tenure now. If you think about
and
it.
longer than a tenure than he's had any place else at any point in time. Right.
Yeah.
As good as Jurgen Klopp was the first time around with Borussia Dortmund, he was only there like 6, 7, maybe 8 years at the most. I don't think it was any more than that. And we'll see, yeah, they are on the precipice, and we'll talk to Professor Matt a little bit later on in the show. They are on the precipice of something unconscionable. And I said a couple of years ago that they missed a trick in that Champions that one season of by not getting that points record that they were on pace for. They missed a trick in the COVID season of going down as one of the greatest teams in English history. If they are able to pull off this quadruple, this team and this iteration of Liverpool will be spoken about amongst the great teams, if not the greatest team. I mean, we can make arguments about Manchester United being the first to win the treble and what they went through to have to do that. How great Arsenal's Invincibles were and how hard it is to go as long as they did without losing in the league. All of those teams have a claim to being the best team, Premier League team in English history. I would definitely say that if Liverpool wins the quadruple, that they have to be high in the running.
Absolutely.
And whatever your personal predilections are for how you want to rate 1, 2, and 3. And I personally believe, no disrespect to some of the good Chelsea teams, no disrespect to the Man City team that won held the points record. No disrespect to those teams, but I believe when you look at it, those are the 3 teams that I look at and say, okay, yeah, you guys have claims to be the greatest.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can't really deny that, because when you look at, those great Chelsea teams were, I like to say that they were built around playing really, really stout defense and had one of the greatest goalkeepers of our generation. But to say that those teams were just across the board dominant is not really, it's not in the same breath as you could say like this Liverpool team is, or a team that wins, that can just go through a whole season without losing, or a team that's able to win in multiple championships that are all occurring at the same time. I think that is what's even more impressive, because at least with something that's week in, week out, you do have that. You don't have too many in-week games, but when you're playing 3 separate tournaments that are all going to be culminating at basically the same time, and you're able to win all 3 of them, that is extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. So I also hold that in very high regard.
Yeah, we'll get into, but I was saying that to say, at some point in time, and probably soon, Jurgen Klopp's going to have to rebuild that squad.
Yes, he is.
And we'll see how that works for him. Diaz is a fantastic signing. Diogo Jota is still relatively young, but a lot of their core players are getting into the age range where they're all north of 30.
Right.
And I'm not saying next year, I'm not saying the year after. We saw what losing Virgil van Dijk did to them last year.
Absolutely. Plus the slew of other ones they had. But yeah, the Van Dijk
these things are going to really start happening with more regularity, and we're going to see. And so, can he stay?
Right.
And so that's why I was saying, even though in certain respects, Carlo Ancelotti could be looked at like the Larry Brown of world soccer managers. That doesn't take away from his credentials. And I think he's having fun with it, because even he admitted, he's on the backside of his career. He believes Real Madrid, however long this job is lasting, will be his last one. He's going to retire, and that's going to be it. So while we're
it's good to see him really enjoying himself too.
While we're on this, why don't we bring in our 2 good friends, Coach G over in New Orleans and Los down in Tampa Bay. G, good evening. How's it going, sir?
Things are going very, very well. My track season is about to wrap up right now. I'm exhausted as all hell. We have state finals in at LSU in Baton Rouge. So looking forward to that. And the year's winding up. I don't know about you teachers, but my last day with the kids is this Friday. So unlike Hillsborough County that I just came from with Los, we're getting out super, super early. So I think Hillsborough, you guys out end of May maybe right now?
Yeah, 4 weeks.
They also start super early too. Because of the heat.
Actually about middle August. So we actually like old school, like how summers used to be when we're kind of growing up, like actual 3 months. So I'll be some traveling, doing some AP seminar stuff and whatnot. So one location is in DC.
Do we know anybody? Anybody in DC we know?
Just throwing that out there, gentlemen.
You let us know. Tell me in advance.
Yeah, let us know.
Let me know.
Of course. Yeah, I'm not gonna show up, but hey guys, like, oh shit, who's this guy? Like,
yeah.
You let them know, that way they'll be out of town.
That may be the truth. Los, of course you would show up celebrating the championship in your Real Madrid kit. We were talking about before you came on, and maybe you heard part of it. We were talking about Stead and I, the championship, and especially Carlo Ancelotti's reaction to this championship. I absolutely love that picture of him surrounded by the team, smoking a cigar with his sunglasses on. All he was missing was a glass of Chianti or a Peroni, and he would have been like the most Italian thing that I'd ever seen ever.
And a big gold chain with OG.
Yes.
That would...
So let's start with what this championship means to Real, what it means to Ancelotti, and what the immediate future holds. They're going back to the Bernabeu, and they need to overcome a 4-3 deficit in the Champions League tomorrow. But there's been a lot of questions about Ancelotti's potential future, whether or not, despite the fact that they're in the Champions League semifinals and have won La Liga with a team that probably wasn't their strongest in recent memory, the possibility that this could be it for him. So why don't you start with what this means for Real Madrid and Ancelotti?
Well, for Real Madrid, number 35, obviously, that's monumental. I mean, when you think about that in terms of sports in the United States, you think of teams like the New York Yankees and the Boston Celtics, and the LA Lakers and the Montreal Canadiens in hockey. It's very few teams that can win that many times. There are very few teams that have been around that long to win that many times. But Real Madrid has once again risen to the top. Now, with that said, Ancelotti looking like the OG, celebrating, but he earned it. The guy has been really a phenomenal manager since he started back in the mid 90s. The first title he won was with AC Milan. He won that league title with them. He won a league title with Chelsea. He won a league title with Paris Saint-Germain. He won with Bayern Munich. He won with Real Madrid. I mean, that's phenomenal. 5 different leagues. I don't know that anyone's done that before. I don't think he's the first one.
He is the first one.
That's incredible. I think he's in the AC Milan Hall of Fame already, but doggone it, he needs to be in some sort of soccer Hall of Fame as well. That's an incredible achievement as a manager. Too bad about Everton, though. I mean, when you think about the fact that he went to Real Madrid after leaving Everton, he was there for about a year and a half. And now Everton is facing relegation in the first year that he's gone since then. So it's like, wow. I mean, he could have maybe it's foreshadowing. Maybe he saw the writing on the wall. Maybe he saw that, okay, this team is going to look really bad and there's not much I can do here. Or He just said, they're not giving me enough to do what I want to do here. I'm going to go to a team where I know I can win and then call it quits, go off in the sunset as a winner, which I think is what's happening with Real Madrid. So that's that. But there are rumors that perhaps, just perhaps, he might consider taking the head coach job at Canada, the national team. So we'll see. I mean, there's grumblings that he might do it. You know, I mean,
there's some talent there. That's interesting.
That would be massive.
Yeah,
it would be. It would be. I don't know that it would happen before this World Cup because they've got there with their present side as they are. So I don't know they want to make a coaching change now. But after this World Cup, possible. He wants a holiday. Okay, he wants to go spend with the time with his family, go hither and yon, and see things and do things. And maybe if Canada comes calling afterwards, perhaps maybe then.
Gee, why don't you jump back on and say what you heard?
Yeah, when I was driving home from work today, just listened to some ESPN soccer radio, and they even said a possibility of United States having Ancelotti come over to the United States being the head coach, just get some experience. He always said he always wanted to coach in America. What a better, the best team right now in America is the national team. So it'd be kind of cool to see him come over here with his experience. But again, the talent here is not the same as he would have over in Europe. Even though Canada right now, I think they're having their golden years. I think the golden era or the generation is right now for them. I think they'll kind of peter off in a couple of years. But right now, yeah, Canada's hot. To take that job for him, that's a coin flip. But there's been talks about him coming over. So it'd be kind of cool to see that.
I mean, why not come over, manage an MLS team, win the MLS Cup, and then add that to your resume as well?
There's plenty of money here in America.
Hey,
he's already got one for every finger.
And look, he's got no idea
so
which
maybe
team
one
to
for
pick,
another
man.
finger.
He's got no idea which team to pick. He'll be sitting there going, which one's gonna win this year? Don't hire me till August, then I'll figure it out.
If you watched our prior MLS, future cast and our kind of rooting for certain teams, before, you have a good sense of what teams not to pick because we picked all the shitty teams from last year.
It's true, but he'll have 10 that all have a shot to win, and by August he's gonna go, I got no idea. I think what's funny though about Ancelotti though is he's never won more than one title at every team. He's only won one.
Mm-hmm.
He's good for one. He'll get you one. And then after that, he's like, all right, you guys are good to go. And you know what? I'll gladly take it.
But unlike Jose, he doesn't leave you decimated after he leaves. So
no, he definitely I get the fit. He's a guy who needs a certain amount of talent. You alluded to that, Everton might not necessarily have had the ability, the natural talent that he needed to be as successful. When you look at the teams that he's had, they've all been very uber talented teams that he's been able to guide. I have said a lot of times on this podcast and a lot of times in other conversations, just because a manager is like a Phil Jackson, where he comes in and he takes a team that has all-star talent and manages them to a championship, doesn't lessen what he does. There is a certain skill set necessary to come in, balance those egos, get them to perform, convince them to do what you want them to do, and move them forward. He has received a certain amount of criticism this year for the over-reliance on some of his aging players. Los, you can speak to that better than everybody else. I mean,
Modric, Benzema. I mean, next year they're using walkers out there when they go on the field. But no, seriously, those guys can still play, and they've shown it week in and week out. Modric is I'm still in awe of putting my job off the ground with that one pass he made a couple weeks ago. It's and he's we were hopeful that perhaps maybe there might be talk of him coming back to Spurs to finish out his career, but I don't see that happening, to be honest. And my Spurs compadres aren't really thrilled about having him back because I guess he kind of left a little bad taste in the mouth previously. So aside from that, Benzema's awesome. There's no stopping that guy in the box. I don't know. He always finds a way to put it in the back of the net. So That's where you're at there with the geriatrics.
I mean, if
I'm up and comers, Vinny Jr. He's looking sharp, and what the kid's like, what 19, 20? So
He's 20.
21, 22.
21, yeah.
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 I mean,
He's still a very young kid.
He's just getting started.
I mean, I know that there exists the FIFA Player of the Year and the Ballon d'Or. They're meant to celebrate the biggest name or the quote unquote best player. If you had an MVP, and the true definition of MVP to me is if you took this player off this team, they don't get where they currently are. I really have to look very hard at Karim Benzema and his season at Real Madrid, because as far as that goes, like, it's undeniable the fact that they would not be where they were if they did not have Karim Benzema. If you want to, you can make the argument similarly for Sadio Mane. He's had a little bit more impact on for Senegal, getting them to an African Cup of Nations and a World Cup qualifying for the World Cup, and he'll be at the World Cup next year in November, while his compatriot Mo Salah won't. But I think Benzema has had maybe a bigger impact for his club than Mane has for Liverpool, whereas we all know Benzema has had zero impact for France because he basically never plays for them. That whole Matthew Balbuena blackmail thing. What were you thinking, dude? They really could use you. So that's my pitch for Karim Benzema for European MVP. He's like the Joel Embiid of world soccer.
I would agree. If you take him off the Real Madrid team, they're not the same team, and they might find themselves struggling to get top four. Right now, they're coasting, and he's one of the big reasons why.
He's one of the big reasons why we give them a shot tomorrow against Manchester City. And remember, it was 2 goals, one of them the penalty that kept them in that match against City the first leg. So coming back with a shot to win, and a large reason why you're going to say, so if I say, the whole pie, 100% reason, I'm going to say easy 55% of it, Karim Benzema, 45% of it, Luka Modric, and the remaining whatever percentage is left, Vinicius Jr. and the rest of them get like 1%.
I don't know if that adds up to 100%, but hey, that's pretty doggone close.
Yeah, we're like Yogi Berra.
Yeah,
podcasting is 90% mental, and the other half is just talking.
Right. Yeah. Well, I would check your math, but I'm off the clock presently, so not gonna mess with that.
And in Too Many Size Soccer Show, we don't give 100%. We only give 97. So we talked a bit about it, the fact that he may move on, the fact that Perez might want to move on from him. We know that there's a high likelihood that Mauricio Pochettino will be available in the summer. It's almost a foregone conclusion that he will not be with PSG.
Even though they won the title.
They did not progress in the Champions League. They had a rough go of it in the Cup. He seems to have failed to meet his mandate. We know there is no secret that Real Madrid is enamored with Poch and wants to bring him on. Beyond the assumption that Ancelotti deserves better, what do you think about the possibility that this could be just one and done again at Real Madrid in his second stint for Ancelotti?
Well, he's already said he's ready to retire, pretty much. He's kind of alluded to it. So it's like it's not Real Madrid saying, hey, you're out the door. It's Ancelotti saying, oh, okay, I won here too. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to go and be with my family and do the things that families do. So that's, to me, that's what I'm reading when I read about what Ancelotti has been saying in the press.
He said to me was like, I'm ready. If I'm here next year, I'm here next year. If my contract's for 3 years, but I want to retire and stuff like that. He seemed to, I read it more as when this stint at Real Madrid ends, that's it for him. He said it could be 1 year, it could be 3 years, it could be 10. He'll stay as long as they want him, but he doesn't plan on leaving after, going anywhere after.
Well, I haven't looked at the odds for Ancelotti staying manager or leaving as manager at Real Madrid, but I imagine they're pretty good odds. So somebody tell Sean about it, and I'm sure he'd look it up. Mm-hmm. As far as the game tomorrow, it's kind of amusing. You look at the sports bet and you see that according to the bookies, Real Madrid is favored tomorrow to win. And if you look at other places, you see that Man City is favored to win. I'm like, I don't even know which to believe. So it's going to be quite a game to watch tomorrow, and it would be a hell of a way to go out if Ancelotti wins tomorrow, advances to the final, and then if they beat Liverpool, what a way to go if the guy decides to retire at that point.
I think if he wins the Champions League, he breaks that record, he gets his third or fourth. It's time to.
He'll probably walk away, and he probably walk away even if he doesn't make it, because I mean, what a storybook career when you think about all the stuff he's been able to do and accomplish in different places, and it's a great career. And hats off to the man. He could get the job done in a variety of places. He wasn't just a one-trick pony in one league and just did it. He did it over several leagues over the last 25, 30 years. So that's a heck of a career.
So real quick before we get you off of here and switch to conversations about the land of enchantment. Spurs, the push for the Champions League continues.
They're pushing.
It looks like it's going to come down to that rescheduled North London derby that Arsenal noped out of, or Arsenal noped out of. After Spurs noped out of some games, Arsenal noped out of some games. Somebody noped out of this. The rescheduled North London derby. What do you make of their push to make it into the top four, their recent form, and how the season's going to end up going for them?
Well, we drew and lost some games we should have won, and we would be in a better position had we won those games like we were supposed to. That said, moving on away from the past, moving to the future, to be honest, and this is a tall order for any club, but let me tell you, if Spurs win out the rest of their matches, they're top four. They're top four. So really, their destiny is in their hands. But look what they got in their hands coming up Saturday. They got to deal with Liverpool, and Liverpool had a great match today against Villarreal, who, by the way, Villarreal is going to be looking on the outside, looking in at Europe this next season, because they're presently 7th place and they're 4 points out of 6th with 4 matches left. So it does not look good for them to make Europe at all next year. So that was their chance, was today, to try and get past Liverpool, and it didn't happen. So
they gave it their all. They
tried. But getting back to Spurs, like I said, if they were to win out, they would control their own destiny and would be top four. Now, if they lose Saturday or draw Saturday, it becomes a little bit more interesting, and then makes May the 12th even that much more of a deciding factor. It already looks right now that game on the 12th is going to be a UEFA Champions League playoff game right here in the middle toward the end of the season. So it's going to be intriguing. It's going to be fun to watch, and hopefully Spurs come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, even this Saturday, the game was flexed to the afternoon, which odd. I mean, that's going to put it at what, 8 o'clock UK
Right.
time.
Yeah, it's
But
2:45 our
yeah,
time.
both teams desperately need to win this. Liverpool still do actually trail Man City, who will play. I think Man City plays earlier in the day.
They play Sunday.
Oh, they play Sunday. Okay, but City's run-in is a little bit easier when you look at it, where Spurs still have Liverpool and a North London derby. City have, Newcastle's tricky, Wolves can be tricky, and West Ham and Villa. On paper, at least, that's a little bit easier, but
nobody wants to play Newcastle right now.
Nobody wants to play Newcastle right now. But
True.
We got Newcastle on match day 37. I'm not looking forward to that one.
Since Christmas, I think Newcastle is number two.
Two or three. They're two or three. I think it's 3 since January. Yeah. So they're
what a turnaround
for
That's
real.
amazing.
I mean, you got to give Eddie Howe some props there.
That's what Eddie Howe and some investment in his club will do for you. But again, for Spurs though, it's you got to go. You got to win this game because they need the points.
Right.
Just like Liverpool need the points. If they drop points and that 1 point lead somehow grows to 4, or heaven forbid, 4 more, like that's big, right? That's big. That's big.
Yeah, we got it. I'm hopeful that we'll play well against Liverpool Saturday. If we come out with the draw, I guess that all things considered, that's not a terrible result. To come away with 3 points would be absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah,
but we're playing Liverpool, so that's the tall order.
Yeah, it draws not the end of the world either when you have a better goal differential than Arsenal. So it's not the end of the world.
Might not be for them, but hey. Yeah. All we need you guys to do is start dropping points, and then we can sneak back in there. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
Y'all, right. I would agree if y'all were on 36 matches though, but you guys only got 2 games left.
We only got 2. We're fine. We're fine. Yeah. We know what and who we are.
Points. So yeah,
we know what and who we are, and we know that it's not gonna happen for us. All right, gentlemen. Los, it's been good to talk to you, and we'll get you back in the near future, especially next week to review the game versus Liverpool and to preview the North London derby.
I will, and I see Cam is here, so that means I have to go.
I mean, you can stay and hang out and talk to Cam, but just normally
is that how you think of me whenever I show up? You have to listen?
Oh, time for me to go. Cam's here.
I mean, that is normally the progression of the show.
This is how it goes. Just how it goes.
All right. Good to talk to you, Los.
Good night, guys.
Good to see you, Los.
See you later.
Take it easy. Our good friend with our news from the land of enchantment, that is Scotland. How goes it, Cam?
Good. Hanging in there, still in first, so can't complain.
So, let's start with the old firm, and then we need to talk about the greatness that is the split, which could see the team, Livingston, finish the season easily with more points than Dundee United in 4th. But Dundee United is going to qualify for Europe with fewer points. You could have 2 teams qualify for Europe with fewer points than the teams in 7th and 8th. Only in Scotland does this make sense.
Yeah, no, I was looking at the table this morning and I was like, how am I going to explain this? Like, how am I going to be able to, in words, explain what I'm looking at on my screen here? Because there are teams that should be switched. I mean, it's just absolute madness in the table between, as you say, Dundee, Ross County, Motherwell, Livingston, and Hibs. It's crazy. It's madness.
So let's talk about the Old Firm. It was tough. It was not. They've gotten a lot different, since the Celtic went in and beat the tar out of Rangers in that first half, and won off 3-0. Rangers used that as a wake-up call, and they've gotten progressively closer. This one ended up with a 1-1 draw, thanks in large part to a goal by Dude's name is Fashion.
Fashion Junior. Yep.
Fashion Sakale. And he also hit the underside of the bar late on in the game. But the draw does more for Celtic than it does for Rangers, and we're now pretty much at the point where we can call Celtic the champions elect.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The game itself was, I think, for both Rangers and Celtic, it was underwhelming. Celtic had some real, issues finishing, made especially, which is surprising for a player, who's clearly since he started shown so much prowess and potential. It was a little upsetting to see him maybe not kind of getting that kind of final third locked down. And I mean, we had some chances where we just lucked out. As you mentioned, like Fashion Junior right off the bar there. We got lucky in a few instances, but I think overall from both teams, I think both teams walked away from that and said we could have done better. As you say, if Celtic win on Saturday against Hearts, the league is ours. Because of goal differential, even if we lose the next two games and Rangers wins theirs, we're crowned champions, which, this year, I don't know if you've seen in the past kind of few days, the Russian clubs will not be playing Champions League, which means that whoever wins the Scottish Premier League goes immediately into group stages along with a check for £40 million. So that's massive for a team, in any team, but especially for Celtic. So, this game on Saturday is really, really important. It's against a tough team, but if we win that, then, I'll be out partying Saturday night.
Yeah, if it wasn't Mother's Day on Sunday, I might be joining you.
I know. Yeah, I have to take it easy. I've got a fire shift on Sunday, so start early.
We talked about this last week, and what we thought might happen with Rangers in their UEFA Cup semifinal. Europa League semifinal. They were able to withstand a lot from Leipzig. I don't think Leipzig was as crisp or as clinical as they could have been. It was a late goal that got them out of there 1-0. But we've also said that, they probably needed to be 2 up going to Ibrox, because Ibrox has this weird way of creating goals and making players uncomfortable. You're going to have 60,000 angry Scots screaming at the top of their lungs, yes, on the sauce, most of them wearing kilts and not much else. I know that Leipzig has played in some very, very tough environments in their past, but they're much like Stead and I talked about going down and playing Galatasaray in Istanbul. There's very often little that can prepare you for playing in Ibrox except playing in Ibrox. Where do you think this tie stands going into the second leg on Thursday?
I think you've hit it on the head there. I remember last time we were saying, 3-0, 4-0. And as I was watching that game, I messaged you guys and I said, Leipzig is playing well below where they should be, and Rangers is playing much better than I thought they would be playing. And I think it really evened the playing field. I think coming into Ibrox with only 1 goal is definitely very dangerous. I'm hoping that Leipzig have learned from that and are going to see this as not a game where we need to worry about the atmosphere, but actually, clean up the mistakes we made last game. I will say, I think Rangers do have a decent chance of going through now, which, would be massive for them. Would be massive for, again, Scotland as a whole. But I think this is going to be a tough game for Leipzig because of that atmosphere. And, if they play the same way they played last time, Rangers are going to go through. I would put money on that. So I'm interested to see how they change things up. If they're going to be more attacking. I will say Rangers did play a very defensive game at Leipzig. There were multiple times, not at the end of the game, throughout the game, when Rangers had every man back in their first right in front of goal. So, we'll see maybe maybe this time they'll be playing a little more open. Leipzig will be able to capitalize on that. So we'll see.
Leipzig lost 3-1 to Mönchengladbach on the weekend, but it does look like they made a number of changes, not only to personnel, but in formation with how they played. They were going with 2 up top against Rangers. They've reverted to a more 3-4-3 formation. So it looks like they were focused mainly on getting past Rangers and making sure that they came out as healthy as possible. Like no Tyler Adams, people like that who started against Rangers. So we'll have to see who they line up with and how healthy they are going into Thursday. So let's talk about this madness we alluded to it. We talked about how the split worked and how it functioned. And, at the time, it was this theoretical thing. Yes, it is possible that the team that finishes in 7th could actually have more points than the team that finishes in 6th. And we joked and laughed about it, but it is real. It is very real now that the team that has the 4th most points in the league and the 5th most points in the league will not make it into Europe.
Yeah, no, it's wild. I mentioned it earlier. I mean, we've got Dundee United sitting in 4th with the same number of points as Livingston, who's sitting in 7th. And between them, we've got Ross County and Motherwell, 41 and 40 points. And actually, Livingston should technically be in 4th. We've got the same goal differential, but the goals for Livingston has more. So this is a situation. This is a classic situation in Scottish football where we see why some of these clubs get upset with the split, especially kind of some of these mid-tier clubs. Celtic and Rangers, Hearts generally are not too worried about it because they generally, as history has shown, end up at the top of the table. But some of these other clubs, I mean, Livingston for how decent they've been this year, I do feel for them sitting in 7th and having that wall that they just can't climb over to get up to 4th. Livingston's a team I think I would actually be really interested to see how they play in Europe. I'm obviously not talking against some of the bigger teams, but some of these teams maybe like Bodo Glimt, some of these kind of other smaller teams, kind of well known, but just how they play against Rangers and Celtic, that would be something I would really like to see. I don't actually know if Livingston's ever actually made it into European competition, but it's really, really odd. It's also going to be really odd seeing Dundee in Europe. I don't remember the last time I saw Dundee United playing against a team outside of Scotland. So I've got high hopes that they'll be able to put on a good show. They have really rebuilt themselves over the past couple of years, so yeah, I'm not upset that they're there. I'm just upset that Livingston isn't also up there.
And not to mention Hibs as well. Ross County in 5th on 41. Hibs also on 41, but Hibs with a much better, with a 3+3. They're both negative, but 3 more goals on the differential. Let's talk about promotion and relegation. Arbroath, the dream is still alive.
Still there. I'm so excited.
I think there are 3 games or two games to decide it. The playoffs for the Scottish Championship have been set, but the dream is still there. You're telling me there's hope.
Oh yeah. No, it's fantastic. Killy's moving up for sure, and then Arbroath is playing 2 playoff games. And that I think that's going to probably be again, St. Johnston is what it looks like. So I'm super pumped. Those are 2 games I will be watching for sure, and I know already who I'm supporting in those games.
Yeah. So Kilmarnock won automatic promotion. Pretty much they sealed it when they beat Arbroath. Inverness, Cali Thistle, and Partick will be playing in the first one. The winner of that game gets to play against Arbroath, and then the winner of that game gets to play against St. Johnstone's. We can't make it simple.
No, it's Scotland. They can never make football simple, as we've learned.
For the next thing that they're going to allow you all to pick the ball up and throw it in the back of the net.
A combination of rugby and football. I'd watch that.
Well, they kind of do have it. They just don't play it in Scotland. They play it in Ireland. They call
That's
it Gaelic
valid.
football. So the playoffs are coming up. So within a couple of weeks, we will know. But the dream is still alive. We've talked about it, but now it is reality. Arbroath in the playoffs to go up. A semi-professional team that has managed to withstand a national schedule for an entire season, and not only withstand a national schedule for an entire season of 36 games, but finishing second by a pretty decent margin over some much better, much more well-funded. I mean, I know the funds aren't like that great in Scotland, but some much bigger clubs. What does this mean for Arbroath?
Yeah, no, this is absolutely wild. I mean, as you mentioned, these are part-timers that have played 36 professional games in the year, while also holding down day jobs as, in construction, teachers, a whole range of industries. It truly is a fantastic story. I think the really big thing is that once they get into the SPFL, I believe their stadium is big enough. There has to be a minimum of 60,000 seats to get into the Scottish Premier Football League.
60,000?
Sorry, 6,000. 6,000.
Yeah.
No, 60,000. No, God. Whew. No,
yeah, that I was just checking. I think it's 6,000 because 60,000 is like the only arenas in Scotland that are 60,000 are like Celtic Park,
Paradise, Hampton, and
Ibrox.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
Hampton, and yeah.
So yeah, that's a big thing, but there are ways to get over that. I think it was Ayr United a few years ago. They technically were able to get promotion into the SPFL. Their stadium was too small, so they actually partnered up with another team that had a large enough stadium, were able to get in. But the big question is really going to be for these Arbroath players, are they going to quit their day-to-day jobs, become full-time players? The risk there being that, if they fall next season back down to the lower league, they're going to be out of jobs. And they're probably not going to be able to have, Arbroath paying their full wages as full-time players. So I'll be interested to see if they do make it, if Arbroath kind of adjusts to be a full-time team and how they're actually going to be getting that funding.
It would be a shame for them to not be able to offer the opportunity to the guys that got you up to play there, because they were the ones that made you successful. Yeah, we're going to treat this like, I think that here's what I want Scottish Parliament to do. I want them to draft them all into the military, like as reservists, and then they'll be technically deployed on active duty orders for a full year to play as soldiers, thus meaning that their jobs are secure for the full year, so that when they go back, they're guaranteed to have the position that they left.
You might be onto something here. And the only thing now is you have to convince the Scottish Parliament to get absolutely anything done. So good luck with that. That's going to be, I think, your most difficult hurdle in this whole process.
I have to convince Scottish Parliament that they're actually a parliament and they have the ability to do something.
Oof, big oof.
Hey, look, I follow UK politics too. All right, my man. Thanks a lot for joining us. We'll get you back on next week to keep up on the ups and downs from the land of enchantment. Good to see you, and hopefully you're celebrating good things on Saturday going into Sunday.
Thank you, gentlemen. And here we go, Arbroath and Celtic.
Here we go. All right, G, you've been hanging out for a little bit.
I got some time tonight. I thought, stop in, say hi, check on you guys, make sure you guys are doing all right. But
I know that your co-manager is going to be joining us in about 10-15 minutes. We're going to talk a little bit about the job that you guys have done at Shalke.
We're trying to just kind of keep on the down low right now. We're not trying to kind of, advertise what we're doing. We're just trying to have our work just talk for itself. So after the season's over, we'll talk, Shalke through and through. But right now we're just going what we're doing, setting, our ideas of the season to get first place, to get back out into the Bundesliga. So we're just gonna keep on the steady, man. We're just kind of keeping the down low for right now, but I appreciate the lookout.
And so, how many goals has Matthew Hoppe scored for Schalke this year?
Yeah. So, yeah, babe, what's up? Yeah, hold on, guys. 5.
None, because he's not playing for him. All right.
Yeah, that IR stuff, this is a bitch. So
no, he got transferred. All right. Now let's talk a little bit about Arsenal. The push continues, gentlemen. You gotta rather have the points on the board, and they've got the points on the board right now, going into this North London derby. It looks good. It looks good. It can always be iffy.
Schedule in its entirety. Like you guys said before, Newcastle is the second toughest team right now after Christmas time. We have them on the schedule. Everton is fighting for their life right now. You never know what's going to happen with them. Also, we have a very young squad, so there's a lot of kind of little fingernail biting kind of going on to the rest of the year. But to be honest, a young squad, how Arteta really stopped the sinking ship and kind of sailed in the right direction. And yeah, I'll say it. I got scared in the very beginning of the year. Like, where are we doing now? Where are we going? To where that thought was to where we are right now. You know what? I'm sitting happy. I got a smile on my face. I can get a cigar in my hand, and everything is just great. So I can't complain. Same thing with, any kind of art. And I guess you want to say any true Gooner fan is, we never thought it would be this high, this quick after a quick turnaround. We thought a couple more years, but a couple more transfer windows, and we're right there. But to see this kind of, I guess you want to say, progress already with such a young squad, and we don't really have a true forward to score our goals. We don't have a 10, 15, 20 goal scorer. We have a guy who comes off the bench with Rowe. He's got 10 right now, something like that. We have one guy with 10, but we need to have a little bit more, but we need to have a true forward. Aubameyang, I think he got his contract, he got his money. Like I said, he's not the main guy. So we're looking, but I can't complain. Yes, I hope, we win, 12-0 against Tottenham, coming up here. Leeds should not be an issue, but Newcastle and Everton is going to be tough. So this is why I love soccer. You just never know until you actually play and the whistle at the very end blows and the game is over. So we'll see. But so far, I'm beyond ecstatic.
Yeah, I think we have to, as Gunners fans, to stop looking at the way the team was 10 years ago and 15 years ago. And that's a trap that we've fallen into where, Vieira will win a couple of games against mediocre talent, and all of a sudden we're clamoring for Vieira as our coach. And I'm just going, everyone needs to pump the brakes and stop. The club since Emirates was built has really struggled to recapture the magic of Highbury. And a lot of that was financial. There was a lot of reasons why the club was selling players and they weren't making big splashes because they just didn't have the money because they had to pay for that stadium. But the stadium is paid for now. So now you're seeing too.
Producing back then, we would get fourth.
Oh, we were still producing, but we also have to understand that was pre-City money, number one. And also that was well before the resurgence of Spurs that we've seen recently. Because Spurs was not the club that they are. And I've always said the reason why I don't get my panties in a bunch about Spurs is because when I got into this team, the Spurs were an afterthought. They were not a very good squad. And so I just wasn't really interested. I mean, I can remember the game when all Arsenal had to do was draw and they would win the title, and they drew and Spurs were celebrating and they just clowned. They're like, dude, you're celebrating a draw and we just won the title. Like, come on. Like, that's my image of Spurs. Yeah. So now we're seeing a Spurs team that is clearly more talented than Arsenal is. They are. I mean, the Spurs' 2 best players are well better than Arsenal's 2 best players. I mean, you can't say anybody. Yeah, you can't say that. Yeah, you can't say that anybody on Arsenal can stack up with Harry Kane and Son Heung-min. Excuse me. And the fact that we're sitting 2 points clear of them is a very positive sign. Look, yes, I want top 4. Absolutely, who doesn't want top 4? But to say that I'm going to be sorely disappointed if we're in Europa League next year. I actually think if we're in Europa League next year, we have a legit shot to win Europa League. And So whereas if we're in Champions League, I don't think we have a legit shot to win Champions League. So I'm just saying, I agree with you 100%. I think we have to look at this from a much more 40,000 foot perspective and saying, look where this club was, look how we started out. Go listen to past shows where we were sitting in 17th place talking about we're in the relegation zone, and go listen to things I said after they got destroyed by City. And now you're sitting and looking at a club that has stuck with the manager, which is a very smart thing to do. And the fact that we're now looking around going, wow, this club of 23-year-olds who are still getting their ass wiped by their mommy has a chance to finish in Champions League is pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive. So yeah, I'm excited.
Coach too.
Yeah, don't forget, Arteta's not even 40. He's not 40. I think he's 38 years old. So, you know, there's a lot of growth potential in the team, but also the fact that you're seeing big name players just being rumored to come to Arsenal. We haven't seen that in a very, very, very long time, where you have a big name player, just the fact that there are rumors about those players coming to Arsenal. That's a new thing because we haven't seen that in a while either. And I think the fact that we have some exciting young talent on the squad outside the big two who I fell in love with last year. So outside of those two players, ESR and Bukayo, it's a very good thing. So I think that the lines are all pointing in the right direction, and hopefully we can keep Arteta around for a while, because I'm telling you, you let him go and all of a sudden a big club picks him up.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, that's it. So let's stop. Let's just stop.
What is the lowest number right now? You know, in the old entire table, what can we go? What's the lowest number we can be?
I don't think actually Arsenal can finish lower than 7th.
6, which is incredible.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
I think it might be 7th because
I think it is 7th. No, West Ham can't finish above us. So
but
yeah.
But if Man U wins out, and if we drop, or if we get
we drop,
point,
yeah,
something like that. It's a weird thing.
Man U can get 60. Man U can get 64 points, so they could knock us down. So we could. I think 6th is as low as we can even go.
But what a huge success, though.
Agreed. Agreed.
Young guys, a new squad, new turnover. This is really Arteta's team.
We finished below Leicester last year. I mean, come on.
And this is one thing I was saying the entire year is we were playing these extra games. We were fresher, we were cleaner, and that would only help us with another year experience. And I think next year it's top 4 or bust. You know, it's everything. If it's not bringing more trophies home, to be in these championship games, and I don't really say I don't want to lose them, but just to be in those games that we haven't been in years, I'll take that without a doubt.
And
deep in Europa like we were a couple of years ago, I'll even take that. Like this turnaround, I absolutely love it. And one thing that Arteta finally saw that we had to fix is our defense. And our defense has really kind of solidified. I would say the entire year is slowly coming together. You know, the last game. Hey, Mike, how you doing? So there you go. You know, look at your. Yep. All right.
I was like teen spirit, baby.
But it's just really good to see that, you know, I hate to say it, but, you know, get rid of David Luiz and get some of these older players that we were like, come on, get rid of them. They're such a cancer on our team. We're getting these young guys, and I hate to say it, but Rob Holding scored a goal finally. Like,
yeah, what was that all about? What?
He did something finally, and where's El Neni coming from? He's had a couple good games back to back in the midfield. It's just like some of these unsung heroes are coming through when we never really had that before. So it's kind of good to see that we can kind of count on the entire team.
Yeah.
We didn't have before. We had, these group of players over here and a group of players over there. But this is a team now. And it's really
El Neni has a role in this team too. El Neni has a role. El Neni is not a week in, week out player. But, you know, Arteta talked about winning ugly. When you have a game where you need a guy who's going to just get the dirty work done, that's who he is. And having that type of player is not always considered sexy, but he has a role. He has a part to play in the squad. And and he's also not going to command big wages. So that's a kind of player that you want to keep. He's a guy that's going to be on your bench. He's a guy that when you know what, we got to keep this 2-1 lead. Get him in the game. Get him in the game. You got to get him to frustrate. And he's going to stay goal side. And he's going to run and run and run and run and run. And that's what we need.
Give you yellow cards and red cards. El Neni is going to be smart when he's tackles, and he won't even get a yellow card.
Schalke's player of the month.
Yeah. And like he's an unsung, but if you watch him play the last couple of games, he's doing shit up.
I'm telling you,
stuff up, and
all Arsenal needs to do for Granit Xhaka is if you are to keep him, you need to have a psychiatrist on staff. You need somebody there to talk to him because he loses his head. Yes, he loses his head. He makes dumb decisions and he hurts the team. We have a few losses because of him. And I will blame him directly for those losses. So it's really not it hasn't been something that's worked out as well as it could have, but to see him finally use that left foot again and to show that he's still got that shot, it's like, bro, you know, you did this early on in your career here, and we really want to make sure that keeps going. So let's just keep going because it was really not it wasn't good. It wasn't good. And I was out on him for a long time. So I'm kind of glad that he is at least showing that he can be a productive member of the team, even if in this limited capacity, because I don't think it's going to be on the squad for maybe next year, but I don't think it's going to be on the squad too much longer.
I agree with that. I think a mid-level team wants him. Arsenal, like, yeah, please get rid of him. He's getting up there on age. We have some talent on our bench that can easily fill his void that I would love to have. You know, you talk about Rowe. He should be playing every single minute in the middle. Just get him on there. His time will come. So I think get rid of. I hate to say, but get rid of Shalke. And he's been a captain. He's been a very strong leader. But he's kind of that weird player. But get rid of him. I'm liking everything. You have IQ in the middle, and I've always been a coach that I don't want the fastest. I want the players with the IQ, the best plays at the right time, at the all that type of stuff really adds in, and you kind of see that in our middle. So I'm happy. Just need some true forwards and maybe one or two good studs.
But I'm gonna go out on this. Is that it's just I'm just gonna ask yourself: is Granit Xhaka a starter on a top 4 squad?
No.
Yeah, and I think that's how you know, because he's a starter for Arsenal right now, whether we like it or not. He is a starter, and he's not a starter on a top 4 squad. So I think that lets you know what you need to know about Granit Xhaka. And I will say, hey, yes, I have been extraordinarily frustrated with him as a player, but I don't lack appreciation for him as just a professional who's played for the team. But that's enough about Arsenal. I think we need to get back to what's going on in the Bundesliga. Duh. Coach Matt, welcome back.
Or is it number one? Is it number 1? I don't know.
It's about to be uns. It's uns. We are rising up. Yes, we are. We are punching above our weight.
Yeah. I was gonna message you, and we can do a little shtick, maybe a little later. And I was gonna do the same thing with my uniform, just kind of cover up the Russian gas company.
Yeah. It has like so many. Yeah. The team gave us all the old stuff, so we have to wear it. So.
That was what the sponsorship was at the beginning of the season, prior to, and you haven't gotten the new stuff yet.
Yeah, the players got all the new gear. The coaches, we get all the old gear. We get everything from last year. So
I'm good with that. I want
I'm fine.
The team.
I'm fine.
Look what happened. Look at the turnaround that we've done, in the last couple of months, and we've been kind of petering around 4th, 5th. We dropped a little bit, and we went up because new uniforms. You know what? Focus on the guys. You get the new stuff, and
exactly.
The old guys, we'll get the old stuff. We're kind of traditional like that.
Yeah, it's just what we are. We selected the jerseys going into the year. We're going to stand kind of by them. We don't support the sponsors. No.
All right. So in reality, we don't have Byron Robb on tonight to talk about promotion and relegation in the Bundesliga. But in reality, Schalke is at the top of Bundesliga 2 by 2 points with 2 games left to play, looking very, very, very good. For a promotion shot. So the club bouncing, the Gelsenkirchen club bouncing right back. All right. So we are going to switch.
The Bavarian I hear in your accent there?
In mine or
you said that very kind of Bavarian. I'm kind of
I'm learning. The more I talk, I've been drinking more German beer recently, so
It helps.
that's where it's coming from.
It's the hops.
I've got the beer stein behind me, so you know that's where it's coming from. All right, Matt. Yeah, thanks for joining us, talking a little bit of Arsenal. We're going to switch gears and talk a little bit about one of the teams that is chasing them in Manchester United.
Thanks, man.
Who had, Matt, probably their best performance in months against Brentford on Monday. 3-0. Brentford had some chances.
Yeah.
But, you know, a game that really, I would say Manchester United needed to arrest what slide, get rid of some of the negativity, not all of it. There was a planned protest that was supposed to happen in the 73rd minute with a walkout representing a minute for each year. It didn't seem to materialize. I said, you know, you go up 3-0, you put on a performance like that with what was it, 2 from Cristiano. No, Cristiano Ronaldo had 1. Varane had the other one. Juan Mata rolling back the years and boss in the midfield. I don't want to say like, man, where was this the whole entire time? Why weren't we starting Juan Mata? You know, who knows? That could have been just a one-off. But actually, the last two games, the draw against Chelsea and the win against Brentford, haven't looked too epically awful. How does that make you feel about the remaining 2 games of the season coming up against, I believe, Burnley and Crystal Palace?
Well, yeah, like, I mean, first and foremost, I do want to say that I think the fact that we are officially eliminated from getting Champions League, it just kind of took a weight off. You can honestly see like this team the whole year has just not done well under pressure, and as it kept building was, you know, it just became worse and worse. And now I think after all that pressure's been lifted, it's really, you know, not really fathomable either for us to drop into conference league. So we're in Europa League. I think they're fine where they are. I think it's good now that we're getting players cameos. Looking onto the future, like you said, the future games, I would love to see us play some more youth. Like, as long as our maybe not, you know, give them full starts, but, you know, give them more than just like a 10-minute cameo. Give them a big chunk of the, you know, first half, especially that last game. I'd like to see. We even did that last year. I think that was like where Alanga actually got his first senior goal, was in the last game against Wolves last year.
Well, that was because we had a Europe. I think we had a cup game coming up very quickly after.
Yeah, exactly. And again, we were pretty secure in our league position, so I'd love to see us do that again. Yeah, I mean, it's just I'm happy for players like Juan Mata and Matic to get their send-offs. Obviously, they didn't really achieve as much as we had hoped. I know we won some trophies, but not nearly what, you know, is expected of United. But it was good, especially with Mata. He, you know, it does, whether he was a starter or bench player, or even when he, you know, was essentially, you know, a third stringer this whole season, you didn't hear him complaining. All you heard that it was that he just was killing it at training and playing as hard as he possibly could. He's just a true professional, and he deserved that send off. And Matic too. Matic, you know, was a top professional, played well, deserved a good send off. We can get into the protest if you want, or the lack thereof. But
what about your boy Lingard? What about Lingard? How come y'all distant?
Lingard. He's part of the problem, though. Like, that's the thing too. It's like, well, the reason why you didn't get your proper send off is because of all the leaks you've been doing and your lack of professionalism. So,
I think that he should have gone after last year. That would have been better for him. But, you know, now he's on a free transfer. He's still relatively young enough. He can go back down to West Ham, which is where he
doesn't
should have been.
Doesn't have a lot of miles on his legs. He hasn't played very much in the last few
Yeah.
years. So
He hasn't played. He hasn't played very much. He hasn't played very much, but there was a clear dip in form after the Euros. Remember, this was a guy who was 2 years ago, a nailed-on starter in the midfield and a key part of the England midfield. And then had a couple of really, really, really awful seasons where, he said that there was some stuff going on at home that distracted him. But there was also, he had some success. He was looking like an integral part of the Man United team and an integral part of the England national team. And I think he got his head turned a little bit by some of the more flamboyant figures in the team, pound around with Paul Pogba and stuff like that, paying more attention to the social media and the celebrity aspects of the game than the actual game that you get paid to play. And there are questions about his professionalism, and that's part of the reason why he probably did not get the send-off. We don't know what he does in training. We don't know if he's got the attitude that Juan Mata has. Is he showing up early? Is he putting the work in? Or is he just coming in and saying, I'm going to do what I'm going to do and bounce, right? There's a reason why. There was a reason why Ralph Rangnick decided not to put him on that field and give him his lap of honor. And they're the only ones that know. So I'm fine with that. My question for you, Matt, was going to be, do you think that Cristiano Ronaldo has given Erik ten Hag something to think about as far as his retention for next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's honestly, the questions that we've had going to the year of, how does he mesh with this team and blah, blah, blah. I think that has kind of we've had to move on from it of like, he's in the team and he's clearly a leader now. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but after every substitution, it was made a point that like Ronaldo went out and like gave, daps to like each player going off. I mean, it was very captain-like, and there are some rumors that he's really pushing to be the captain next year. My issue when we originally signed him was that how is he going to work with the front three of Rashford, Sancho, and he who shall not be named anymore. But two of those players are like almost like non-factors right now. We'll see how Rashford bounces back from. He had an awful year, like terrible. And I mean, I think
he'll bounce back.
And the other guy we know is not going to be playing for us anymore. So it's really like, okay, well, that's, it's Sancho, but I think that he can work with
Sancho and Alonga.
Sancho and Alonga. And Alonga has something working with Ronaldo. And it's one of those things of like, look, he's going to give us goals. And I think that whole dynamic now, especially with Ole gone, it's not a question. Is this a team to build around Ronaldo? No, but we can definitely put some pieces around him to support him so that he can actually bag those goals that we know he can score. I mean, heck, he's scored 20 goals this year in the Premier League. I mean, that's really great, especially for a 37-year-old. And I mean, even if we can get 18 out of him next year, I'll take that. He doesn't have to be the guy week in, week out that we're leaning on like we unfortunately had to do this year. But I think he'll be here next year if he wants to. And I think Ten Hag will take it. I don't think Ten Hag will be like, screw this, I don't want him anymore, because he's going to need all the help he can get.
I think he'll sit down with Ten Hag and he'll get his vision. And if he believes that Ten Hag is the right guy for Man United and he buys into the vision, he'll still be there.
Yeah.
You talked about
Ronaldo
him. Yeah. He wants to win stuff, but he also has a love for United that goes much deeper than I think that we forget sometimes how much he respects this club, how much he loves this club, how much he's very much, as much as he's about Cristiano Ronaldo, he's also very much about the badge on the front of the shirt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I loved his reaction to the back heel that he gave to Juan Mata, and Juan Mata just and you saw him like clearly, like he wanted Juan Mata to score that goal. He was trying his hard. And you know, we give him a lot of shtick for being selfish and stuff like that, but this was one of those moments where it's like, I am trying everything in my immense power to set you up to be successful. He wasn't mad that he didn't score. He was mad that it didn't come off specifically for Juan Mata to give him that goal.
Wanted him to score.
Wanted him to score that goal.
Yeah, exactly.
His reaction was just priceless. It showed you, and I think he should be the captain of the team. I don't see a problem why.
No, my only thing is if like again, I just like to think of doomsday scenarios now. Is like if he does, like if age does catch up to him, and like he has a situation similar to Cavani where he's just like he when he's playing, he's great, but he just can't stay healthy. Not that I'm saying that would happen.
We've had captains that did not play a lot for us before.
Oh yeah, no, I know, and it's a different thing now.
Gary Neville was captain for an entire year and played 2 games.
Yeah, no, I mean, but he does say that he regrets it. But they had like when Chelsea last won their title. I mean, Terry was a captain and he didn't play as much. I mean, that happens. Or it might be Gary Cahill is actually who I'm thinking of. And you know, it's stuff like that. It's like I know it's not the same. I guess I'm more of a traditionalist of like your captain should be the guy who's playing every game. It's one of the reasons why I thought that Maguire shouldn't be our captain, because I don't believe he should be playing every game. But the armband kind of
they said they're gonna vote on it. They're gonna let him go. I think Eric Ten Hag will look at who his roster is.
It has been interesting the last couple of games. It's been Bruno. Like I really wouldn't be surprised if it's Bruno like that becomes captain.
Well, I think it's either going to be Bruno or Cristiano Ronaldo.
He'll be speaking Portuguese regardless.
He'll be a Portuguese national team player, and I really can't see it being anybody else because nobody else is consistent enough. Nobody's in the team. The only other one that probably should have it, and everybody would respect it if he did get it, but probably won't, because you very, 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 very rarely see this. In fact, the last time I did, I think, was Ali Khan, would be David De Gea.
Casillas was too.
Casillas?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and Lloris does it but I really wish. I wish G was on, but I just don't believe in goalkeepers being the captain.
There are some people who are hard and fast about goalkeepers can't be the captains. I think Gigi Buffon has been a captain at certain points in time. Ali Khan was. I think Ali Khan was. Iker Casillas, you're right. Iker Casillas was not only the captain of Real Madrid, he was also the captain of Spain.
Yeah. Lloris has served the same role. I think he's been captain of France and
I think he's Spurs captain too.
I don't have his,
but it's still rare. Yeah,
it's very rare that you do it. I just, you know, if you had to give me right now, and you said you can have one of 3, Bruno, Ronaldo, or David De Gea as captain of Man United next year, I'd be fine with either 3, and I think they would be a much better led team. I might hedge towards David De Gea or Cristiano Ronaldo simply because of their tenure and their stature.
Yeah, that's true.
Let Bruno be the vice captain for a little bit. I have seen, although being the captain of a soccer team is not like it is in other sports. It's more of, it does have certain amounts of locker room and things assigned to it, but it's not like the only one
it's not even what it used to be. Like, I mean, like
it seems like it's more important to the fans than it is to the actual.
I think it has to do with your manager and your manager, how much they allow the captains, how much the captain leads the team in the locker room and things like that. Right. Because on game day, what are they doing? They're basically just a guy that leads them out of the tunnel, exchanges gifts with the other guy, and then calls the coin. It's not like in the best I can do is it's not like in cricket where they have to make player personnel changes on the
Yeah.
field, set the field, all that sort of stuff. And you actually see where guys who are captains, their place suffers because of the responsibility of actually managing a game, right? It's not like that for soccer, but it's still an important role within a team. And you want it, I think part of the reason why United disintegrated the way that they did this year was because you had a captain who was supposed to be the voice of the locker room and the voice of the team, and the go-to person who was struggling and who was weak. And had they made that switch a little bit earlier on, it might have worked out differently.
Yeah, I completely agree.
All right, so Matt, it was good to talk to you as always. We're gonna switch gears. Unfortunately, to the victors go the spoils, and since they're winning stuff, we got to cut the Man United conversation short and go to our good friend Professor Matt to talk a little bit about Liverpool.
How we doing, Mike?
Yeah, we're doing all right. A happy Liverpool fan you are. Before we get to anything, while we have been on the air, due to the Russian suspension and Villarreal being eliminated, UEFA announced that Shakhtar Donetsk has been awarded a European place for next year, despite the fact that their season will not finish. I wanted to get your reaction to that.
We sort of figured there would be an extra spot with the Russian teams not being there. A little surprised it was Shakhtar, but we'll see. I only just got the news, I guess, when you guys did, so we'll see. It's going to be strange seeing a team go through Europe without finishing their own domestic season, but
well, we did to a certain extent have that a couple of years ago with COVID, where there were teams whose leagues did not finish, and they froze the league in place on the last day of competitive, and those were how the Europeans, or whatever formula they needed to. Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that France didn't come back. They were one of the few leagues.
I think France, and did the Dutch or the Belgian league? I think they were frozen out too.
I don't think the Dutch did either. I don't think the Dutch, I think you're correct. I don't think the Dutch did either. So there is this sort of precedence. Now, it is a little bit different insofar as basically Shakhtar was awarded a place rather than, we're going to use the qualification process. What we have done is, in effect, guaranteed them a group stage spot that they probably otherwise would not have had.
And the other question there too, obviously, with all of the Ukrainian teams for next season is what is home? What is home going to look like? Is it going to be Poland? Is it going to be Romania? Is it going to be Slovakia? What is this? So, but yeah, I did see that, and again, I'm not shocked. I just don't want to see what this is going to look like.
We'll get into that a little bit more over the course of the summer, because while I am sure that talks are hopefully developing in some way, shape, or form to plan for a next season, a resumption of the Ukrainian Premier League. I don't know how far they are into plans, where they're looking, what that is going to, like you. So I want to get some more information before we start talking about that, because I hope upon hope that there is some sort of acknowledgement that these guys need to be able to play again, that we can't just shutter the league until they can rebuild the stadiums and things like that. Give them an opportunity, because it'll be good for them. It'll be good for the Ukrainian FA to just get money that they're not getting because they're not playing. This could be a net positive if we can get this worked out, be it Poland, be it Romania, be it one of the other, You could go to Latvia, Lithuania, one of the other. I don't care if you go to Norway, Germany, wherever. There's plenty of countries that have stadia that can accommodate them in an area. You know, for all we could, they could play them in the Middle East. You know, so we'll talk about. But
before we get going, I just have to stop you. Is that a West Indies hat?
Yes, it is.
That is outstanding. Love
Yes,
it.
West Indies cricket. Yes, huge. What we're just talking about the role of the manager in West Indies cricket. We are going to start a. We'll talk more cricket later. Great game, proof again of what Liverpool are today. They run out of Villarreal, 3-2 winners on the day, 5-2 on aggregate. It makes it sound like it was much easier than it probably was. Without a doubt, they played the worst half of football that I had seen them play. 66% completion percentage, conceded 2 goals going into halftime. But in a span of about 14 minutes in the second half, turned it around completely, 3 goals, and they're cruising, and the dreams of the quadruple are still alive. The hallmark of this iteration, going back about 3 years prior to this, starting with the team that won. Well, even if you want to go back to the team that lost to Real Madrid in the Champions League final and call it a 4-year rotation, you know, the ones that won a Champions League, lost a Champions League, won a Champions League, won a Premier League, right? This iteration of Klopp's, the one hallmark of this team is this: we don't ever die. That spirit of Istanbul. How reliant are they going to be on that? Because this does not get easier, right? You got a must-win game against Spurs coming up this weekend. You've got the FA Cup semifinals, and then in the last 2 weeks, 4 games over the course of the last 2 weeks, leading up to a Champions League final Memorial Day weekend. It is possible that you could win everything. It is possible that you could easily win nothing.
Yeah, and that's, I think, why, and I'm sure I speak for most Liverpool fans, the first half of that match and the fact that they were able to turn it around was so nerve-wracking. And it's on 2 levels, because the way, it wasn't just the first half was bad, it was the way we were bad. We looked tired, we looked leggy, and everything going through my mind is, this is all caught up to us. Because pretty much every match we've played since the end of January has effectively been, if not a must win, a must at least draw. The other thing is, we're in such a weird position with the quadruple alive that, like, we can actually emerge out of this season with 2 cups and feel bad about ourselves, which is the strangest bloody thing I've ever experienced. And so it's sort of a double-edged sword, because eventually, look, these guys are human. But one of the hallmarks of, this iteration of Klopp's Liverpool is, it's not just the mentality monsters thing. I think I've said this before on this podcast. I'm almost afraid of too much rest. This team, for some strange reason, is at its best when it's constantly being pushed. When we have the week and a half off is when I'm actually a little terrified, because it's like, oh, we're going to come out slow out the gate. I still don't think we're actually going to pull this off, but the fact that we are literally, regardless of what happens, we are, as far as I'm aware, the only English team ever to play at this point every possible match you can play in a season.
You have usurped the 2008-2009 Manchester United
That's
team
what I thought.
because they only made it to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. You made it to the semis. The big difference in between them and you was that they actually will have played potentially one match more, because that was the year after they won the Champions League. So in addition to
European Super Cup,
so not only did they have the European Super Cup, but they also had the Club World Cup. And so in the end, you won't play every match conceivable, but you will have played at the end of this almost as many matches as anybody in English football would have, right? United again had the Club World Cup. They won the League Cup. They won the league, and they went to the Champions League finals and lost to Barcelona, but and won the Club World Cup and lost the Super Cup. So that's why they will have played one more game than you will have by the end of this season. But that doesn't, it's still a remarkable achievement. And fixture fatigue was a big deal. Now, when Matt was talking instead, I was hearkening back to the conversation that we had at the top about, we will rate them as one of the top three greatest teams. Again, you can put them in whatever order you want to, should they win the quadruple. But Matt said, they could come out of this with 2 cups. They could come out of this with a cup and a league and be disappointed. And as he was talking, I was like, how would I rate that season? Would I rate that one of the great? And then I said, no. You know why? Because to be the difference in between what made the treble-winning Manchester United squad and the invincible Arsenal squad amongst the greatest was the fact that they finished all of that stuff. It might have been Ole putting the ball in the German's net at 90+6, but doggone it, they did it, right? And you have to win it to be in it. And that has been sort of the mantra of the teams that have chased the treble is, you get to that point. And there are some serious hurdles left. Remember, y'all still 1 point behind Manchester City with a tougher league schedule than they have. And a slip up, not that I'm saying that they will, not that I'm trying to put the hex on them, but in the interest of good radio, is this a Jenga game where you pull the wrong brick and everything just falls down on itself?
Yeah, that's possible. And I know we were talking last week, and Stead sort of was like, don't big up, the Aston Villa match and Gerrard. That's the match that I'm actually the most terrified of, because we have enough time and we're at Anfield against Spurs this weekend. I'm not feeling, overly confident, but I have a decent feeling. I know we're going to put out our best team and our best effort against Chelsea in the final. That Villa match just smack in the middle of the week where it shouldn't be there, away, and it's Gerrard. It's a place where we've had problems with as of late. I mean, 7-2 was a while ago. Yeah, it was weird. I think 4 of their 7 goals were deflected, but that still happened. I still remember that. Last season they gave it. They gave us, their all. Every match at this point is a potential hurdle. as far as I'm concerned. Some more than others, but that again, that match, because you have to rotate sometime. And the worst thing, even though I think this is the deepest squad we've had under Klopp, bringing the likes of potentially, an Origi or, although granted Gomez has been up to it, bringing someone who hasn't had that many minutes because you have had all these, priority matches in cold. That's that like Jenga piece. I think that's a wonderful analogy. You screw with one little thing and then the whole house falls apart. So I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
One of the things that's going to make this team this season a lot different than we've seen previous Liverpool seasons go is Jurgen Klopp is about trophies. He's not about record, right?
Yeah.
I have seen him take his foot off the gas when either something's done. I've seen him when something's done, take his foot off the gas, right? Thus being, he is competing further into a season than he's ever had to. And it seems like he's starting to rotate less, but with more games coming up. How concerned are you? How worried? What do you feel like? You alluded to it. This wall. I mean, people are human. That and you've got the fact that Mo Salah and Sadio Mane and Naby Keita have all played in the African Cup of Nations. On top of that they're coming in.
Yeah, and that's why the first half of today was so scary, because that looked like the sum of all those fears. A team that's leggy, a team that's just slightly off. It's going to be tough because when Klopp has his back to the wall, he goes with his tried and true. What I will say, and it's funny because I think in defense, we sort of have a Premier League and a Champions League defense, or at least center back pairing. It's the midfield that used to be arguably the deepest, where I'm the most concerned about, because I trust Fabinho. I trust Henderson to a point. I trust his leadership. I trust that he's not going to give things away. Yeah, physically he's declining, but he's still a very good player. I trust Thiago. Today you saw, and it was both halves, the good, the bad, the ugly of Naby Keita. The skills are there, but my issue with him since jump, other than this season where he's actually managed to stay healthy, has been there are times in matches when he tries to do too much. And as good as his pressing is, he tends to press somewhat rashly or unintelligently at those times. And we have bodies, but let's be real. Curtis Jones and Elliott are kids. We also have James Milner. Yes, he's great when you have a league and you can lead and you can put him on the last 10 minutes. The human tactical foul. He can't be relied upon, really. And you saw that a little bit in the Newcastle match. Like, he was pretty good in the first half, but once you hit that hour mark, it's like, nah, he needs to sit. And I was actually even shocked he put him on for a little bit today, because usually when we see that James Milner, it's like, oh, he's not going to be seen for 2 weeks. He needs to rest. So it's very concerning. The one positive is, especially if and when Bobby comes back, we can rotate, and we can rotate well in terms of attack. And that is really all the Luis Diaz factor.
Signing of the season.
Yeah, without a doubt. Coffee and cocaine aren't the only Colombian imports that get you excited, at least me.
All right, listen, that was the perfect line. We're going to leave it with that. Coffee and cocaine aren't the only Colombian exports that get people excited. That's the perfect line. That is great. Walk off, mic drop. Let's bring in Mike Shoestack and talk some promotion and relegation. I hope he has an entrance planned as I'm waiting for him.
Yeah, no, it's good. I'm here.
All right. We want to thank you, Professor Matt. I didn't mean to cut you off, but when you have a mic drop line like that, you just need to leave it.
Oh, we're
Walk
good,
off.
Mike. We're good.
Walk off,
Take
declare
care.
victory. All right, Mike. Less said about Chelsea, the better. So let's talk about promotion and relegation. We are at the business end of the lower leagues. We know now Fulham have secured promotion back to the Premier League. Bournemouth beating Nottingham Forest have secured promotion back to the Premier League. So 2 of the 3 that went down last year back in the Premier League. Nottingham Forest has great grip on the playoffs. There's a little bit at the back end. If we go down to League 2, we know that Forest Green has secured promotion, and we're still waiting on London Sean to get back because he's probably been celebrating this way too much. Exeter has secured promotion to League
League One.
Right, and we are starting to figure out some of the teams that are going down as well. So give us the lowdown on what we can look for as far as ups, downs, and playoffs go.
Yeah, I mean, let's just talk about the Bournemouth Nottingham Forest match, right? Because this is probably the biggest game in all of English football for the entire year, right? You can argue, what, like Liverpool and Man City. Yeah, okay, that was big, but Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest today were playing for 135 million pounds. That's the winner's share. That's what a Premier League side gets over a championship side. And of course, both or either team could probably win through the playoffs, but you don't want to chance that. And yeah, Bournemouth, they did clinch promotion today. What a great game it was, 1-0. Nottingham Forest seemed to have the upper hand early. And they hit the post, actually the crossbar, in the first couple of minutes, but Bournemouth really took control of the second half, and the game was goalless, which would have been great for Bournemouth. A draw would have worked out well for them as well. But substitute Kiefer Moore delivered on a set piece. It was one of the best set pieces I've ever seen. Peter Billing took the kick, which was 19 yards out, and rather than go for goal, slid a perfect pass right across. Kiefer Moore fooled the Forest D, and he knocked it one time right into the back corner, made it 1-0. Forest had one final chance at the end in stoppage time, when after a corner, a second cross came in, and it found Forest keeper Bryce Samba, came to his feet, and probably not unexpectedly, he did not deliver. As a keeper myself, I wouldn't want the ball at my feet in the 6-yard box to win the game. But that's how it ended, 1-0. Bournemouth promoted. Nottingham Forest have already solidly made the playoffs. So if they want to come up to the Premier League, they will have to go through Wembley. So since Forest are going to have to go through the playoffs, and I don't, Stead, Mike, I don't know. Did you guys have anything to say about the Bournemouth and Forest game today?
No, I was not watching. I was tied up doing other stuff. But I mean, Forest are a historic Premier League squad. They were founding members. They're one of the biggest teams in England, kind of like a Leeds. Insofar as they're one of the bigger, they won a European Cup, as I believe.
They did.
They're one of the bigger teams in England that we haven't seen in the Premier League in quite a while.
Right, since 1999. They have not been in the first division since 1999.
So I would be interested to I want to have them back. Mike, I don't know if you remember this. Back years and years and years ago, I actually did used to have a Nottingham Forest jersey, more because I thought it was cool, because outside of Nottingham, we associate Nottingham Forest with football, but what do you think is the most ready association when it comes to Nottingham Forest?
Robin Hood.
Cool.
Robin Hood, Sheriff of
Maid Marian, Little
Yes,
John,
yes.
all those guys.
Yeah.
Yes. So
I have to agree though. I was able to catch bits and pieces of the match today, and I will say this though: you're looking at other teams that have been in who are in this particular playoff, and outside of Luton, Sheffield and Huddersfield have been in the Premier League relatively recently. But when you look at Nottingham's form recently, Huddersfield kind of climbed back up into that playoff section, into that playoff race relatively recently. I gotta feel like this is seriously in Nottingham Forest's court as far as the playoff is concerned. I can't imagine that that they would have too much trouble at least getting to Wembley. As far as all the playoffs are concerned about promotion, I feel like the championship one's the one with the least level of intrigue outside of League One when you compare them to League One and League Two.
I just feel like you always get a team though in the Champions playoffs that goes in with momentum, and they don't make it past the first one.
No, I would agree with you there, but because it's Nottingham Forest, I think I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because it's Nottingham Forest. If that was a team, I mean, hell, if that was Huddersfield, I'd be like, I don't really know, but because it's Nottingham Forest, I'm feeling a bit more like they'll probably get back up this time. Mike, but go ahead. Chelsea, Mike, you're about to say something. Go ahead.
No, I mean, Nottingham Forest have solidly climbed up the table, and they had a great FA Cup run.
Mm-hmm. And that's very, and I won't lie, that's very fresh in my head.
All right. I can hear that.
But when you look at the other teams in the potential playoff race, Forest and Huddersfield are level on points. So there's some, you want to be 3 and not 4, right? So that you play the 6 team and not the 5. There's some intrigue there. I think Forest and Huddersfield look the class, but let's take a look at the other 4 teams who could potentially make it. There's Sheffield United and Luton Town. They're in 5th and 6th on 72 points. Sheffield United has been doing better. They've kind of held on and just got their fingertips into that rock. They've been around 5th, 6th, 7th for the last month and a half or so, and they don't look like they're going away. They're also a team Premier League experience. They just came down. You got to think they'd be hungry to get back up. And so I have concerns about their schedule. There's Sheffield United, Luton Town, then you've got Middlesbrough and Millwall who can let's both make it.
Very, very honest. Sheffield United are pretty much guaranteed a place in the playoffs. It's going to take a whole heck of a lot.
They're playing Fulham as well, and you can easily see Fulham going, just take it. We're good.
So Middlesbrough has to win. Luton has to win as well, right? So they're in pretty good shape. And they've got Sheffield United has 7 goals over Luton. So yeah, they are in pretty decent shape.
Okay, if Luton draws and Middlesbrough win and Luton's out, but I don't see, like, Millwall's playing Bournemouth.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to figure the 2 clubs that are playing the 2 teams that are already promoted. do you want to give them a little bit of an advantage? I mean, Sheffield's playing Fulham. I mean, unless they want Mitrovic to score another goal. I mean, I just don't think Fulham is all that concerned about this game. And to be honest, Bournemouth isn't either. But Millwall is sniffing at this. Now, Millwall, I've never seen Millwall play top flight ever. I'm not sure they have in my lifetime. If they ever have. I think they ever.
They have played top.
They've never played Premier League. I know
they've never been in the Premier League.
But the fact that Millwall's there is kind of funny, just because we all like those movies that we watched about hooliganism 10 years ago.
Like, that was what I was looking at. Like, Millwall needs a lot to break in their favor.
Yeah, but they're playing against the team that's already promoted. So
yeah,
I don't know,
But so look, here's who I like. I actually like. I don't like Sheffield United here. I think that their quicksand is Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough are playing Preston North End, who are not a really great side, just kind of finishing out the season.
Yeah, they're solid mid-table.
And Middlesbrough are only 2 points behind Sheffield United in goal differential. Mm-hmm. So I could see Middlesbrough winning by more than 2. And I can also see Fulham coming out there and winning. So you know what? I'll take Middlesbrough to sneak in. I like Luton Town beating Reading, who just barely escaped relegation.
So you're going to go with Nottingham Forest, Huddersfield, Luton Town, and Middlesbrough.
That's who I'm taking.
All right. If we go down to League One, the playoffs are set in League One.
I agree, Chelsea might. I think it's the same. I'm with you.
We'll see. I'm happy to be. Wigan Athletic and Rotherham automatic places. We got MK Dons, Sheffield Wednesday, Sunderland, and
Wickham. The Wickham Wanderers.
I will actually. I'm not going to lie. You know what? I actually probably am going to watch the Sheffield Wednesday Sunderland time. I do have a massive soft spot for Sheffield Wednesday, to the point where somewhere buried in that chest over there is a Sheffield Wednesday jersey. I wanted them to go to the Premier League. They got hit with the points deduction that saw them get relegated. They're in a position to bounce back up to the Championship and hopefully under new ownership compete and go back up to the Premier League, because much like Nottingham Forest, they're a team that I think would be fun to see back in the Premier League. And then, of course, can we see Sunderland get denied yet again? The sadist in me for that wants to see that happen.
You know, I mean, I feel like it's more likely than not, right? MK Dons were in the mix for automatic promotion right into the last week, and everybody did what they were supposed to. They won. MK Dons won, and you know, if any of the teams above them had given up some points, they could have gone up themselves, but it wasn't to be. Actually, it's Rotherham who had to drop points. But anyway, you know, MK Dons, they're looking good. I certainly like them in their first round playoff matchup. Or Wickham kind of snuck in at the end. Plymouth Argyle collapsed a little bit, winless in their last 5, only put 3 points up in their last 5, which allowed Wickham to come back in. There would be a bit of poetic justice if Wickham were able to come back in, because of course they were demoted as a result of the scandal around Derby County. They were the last team out. So yes, there would be poetic justice there. But I think Sunderland are a better team than Sheffield Wednesday. And I really like their form recently. They've just, when it counted the most, they have not been dropping points. And I think that the Stadium of Light gets rowdy when when there's a lot on the line. And I could see them going back to Wembley, but I think the old Sunderland till I die, Sunderland goes to Wembley to die, plays out once again.
I have to agree. I mean, Sheffield has been on a pretty damn good run the last couple of months. I think they've won like 8 and lost 2. So they're playing, and a couple of draws in there. They're playing well, but I feel like they've had to crawl to get into those playoff spots. Whereas it's almost like, I mean, Sunderland has to be feeling disappointed at the fact that they're in the playoff, considering how they played the majority of the year in League One. But my gut is telling me, though, that I do think Sunderland will get through Sheffield, but I don't see Sunderland getting. I don't see them winning the tournament. I just don't see it. I don't.
These are two really big clubs.
Oh, yeah.
I mean.
Oh yeah.
When you
Sunderland is one of the is a very big club.
The Wednesday
Sheffield
were one of the
United
teams that were winning the early FA Cups.
Yes, Sheffield Wednesday is a huge club.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that we realize how big Sheffield Wednesday actually are.
No, I'm well aware of how big they are.
Or
yeah,
you know, a lot of people who don't, you know, I'm not saying this to say like, okay, you're not a fan if you don't, but if you haven't watched in the last 20 years, or you've only started watching in the last 20 years, like a lot of people have, and you didn't follow the history beforehand, you may not realize like Sheffield Wednesday is a massive club. There was a reason why Hillsborough was chosen for that match with Liverpool, because Hillsborough used to be one of the biggest, most important stadiums in all of London. You know, it's just funny that we have Sheffield Wednesday and Sunderland, and we're arguing over one of them making it to Wembley to play in the League One.
That's very true.
Championship.
Yeah.
When, I mean, not for nothing, you know, Rotherham and Wigan has a history, and a much more recent one.
Yeah, they have a Roberto Martinez history.
That's
really what you got to call it.
And they had a couple of great years in the Premier League. Roberto Martinez, FA Cup.
Yeah, one of the greatest FA Cup finals ever. One of the greatest.
You know, I'm happy to see them winning automatic promotion, especially after all of that who shot John last year.
All the crap that they went through with ownership.
With the ownership,
yeah.
Having them back in the championship, I think, is they're competing, and we're trying to argue in between.
Yeah.
Sheffield Wednesday.
But that's gonna be a hell of a home and home to watch.
I mean, it's gonna be a hell of a home.
I mean, look, I am more geeked up to watch this League One tournament. This is the tournament for me. This is what I want to see.
Well, I'm actually kind of
home and home of Sheffield and Sunderland. That's going to be fantastic. That's going to be fantastic. I mean, I'm going to try everything in my power to make sure I can watch these games, because these are going, like, if I can't watch these games, you guys will know, because I'm recording them, or I'm going to watch them later, and I will be non-existent on the chat line. You will not see me there, and I don't want to know what's happening.
I'm going to watch this.
And ESPN, they should air this one.
ESPN Plus is airing. They are airing it. The first match,
great games.
The first match at the Stadium of Light is on Friday at 2:45, and then the reverse fixture Sheffield Wednesday, Monday, May 9th at 2:45. Those are upcoming, so we'll know who's going to Wembley by the next show.
By the time. And I mean, and then we haven't mentioned the fact, like there are some good storylines.
Yeah, absolutely.
MK Dons. I mean,
yeah,
you know, I'll pay attention to them when they get back in the Premier League. But for those who are unaware, it's the old Wimbledon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're, to my knowledge, the only team that has done what they did and recently and thoroughly picked up and relocated and changed their name and left somebody without a team.
Yeah. By the way, the people who they left without a team, who were replaced by AFC Wimbledon, were relegated for the first time in their history this year. They came all the way back from level 9 up to level 3, and this year they were relegated for the first time back down to League 2.
So they'll be in League 2. We already talked about Exeter and Forest Green. We love seeing Exeter in League 1 for the first time in 9,000 years. And on behalf of Sean and the city of Exeter where he lives, and then of course our favorite green vegan club, Forest Green.
Yeah, they crawled across the finish line to try to.
Well, that's because they lack protein.
I'm sorry, dude. If you want a case to say that you don't have enough fortitude and enough stomach to get to the end,
yeah, they did not.
They are so lucky that the other teams faltered.
They did not have
like. Y'all were up by 11 points, and then you're going to finish second.
They were wire-to-wire leaders. They've been leading since the first weekend.
Whole time, and now they're not going. And now, they still got one more game, but still, like, it's like, dude, y'all need to eat a sandwich. Seriously, that's you have a little bit too much tempeh.
Get some meat-based protein. Gentlemen, I know we actually do have to wrap this up really quickly, but we would be totally remiss if we didn't talk about this before the end of the show. I've checked, it came across my wire. Mino Raiola passed over the weekend. I have confirmed yet again, for real. That's what I was about to say. He is still really actually dead. Earlier this year, he'd been reported as dead and popped up the next day and he was alive. Earlier last week, they said that he had died and he magically came back to life. But this time he really did actually pass. The super agent represented some of the biggest names, negotiated the biggest transfers, probably one of the most divisive independent figures in soccer. Like most agents, I mean, for those of you looking to put him in context, the best I can come up with was Mino Raiola was the Scott Boras. And there's really no other way to put it in terms of who he represented and his longevity in the game. Over here in the US, we have seen agents like Drew Rosenhaus, who come on the scene and maybe last like 3 or 4 years. The Poston brothers. Even to a certain extent, if you want to talk about Rich Paul Clutch Sports right now, like they've got a great stable of NBA players, but they've only been around representing primarily LeBron James and stuff. Whereas you look at like Scott Boras, not only has he had the best stable of baseball players, he's also been doing this for about 30 years. That was Mino Raiola. Instead, Mike, I wanted to get your thoughts on his impact on the game and the impact of his passing. So instead, I'll start with you real quick.
I think in the of course in the direct immediate aftermath, you have to wonder what does that mean for the general term of the big name player. I mean, you have to say that he's had a big role to play in the exorbitant fees that the transfers have been calling for right now, and I'm sure he's done a lot to pad his own pockets as an agent in that way. It's you never want to speak ill of the dead. You never want to speak ill of someone's legacy so recently after they pass. But you have to wonder, how is this going to, like, where's the vacuum going to happen now? Where are these players going to go? You look at his list of clients. I mean, you're talking about
Paul Pogba,
Erling Haaland, Paul Pogba, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Romelu Lukaku, Jesse Lingard. There is just a list of players. Now, I can say this. Outside of Erling Haaland, a lot of his big name players have kind of started to age up, and they may not be commanding those big funds anymore. So, it's who's going to step in and kind of take over that role, or are we going to start seeing a leveling out of what these transfer fees have been recently? So I think what we all have to do is see what happens to Erling Haaland. I think that's kind of the big question, to see what happens here. But for as far as his passing goes, it's a shame that he had to pass so young. 54 is not an old man at all. And it's sad. I mean, it really is sad. I mean that's the bottom. That's just the bottom line. It's sad, and to see, and yeah, look, he never looked a bastion of health, and it was even more pronounced considering he was always hanging out with guys who were 6 feet tall and were svelte and were professional athletes. So it's another kind of statement that says, hey, there's also some things to be saying about. Sometimes you got to take a little bit better care of yourself. So to his family, I wish him all the best. I hope that that they were able to prepare for this in some way, because it sounds like he'd been in ill health for a while. But I can also say this, he's done a lot to actually build up a lot of players and to actually help a lot of families, because a lot of these players are probably be supporting many more individuals outside of their own. So,
his job was to negotiate the best possible deal
that
he could get for any player,
and
to continue to do what they wanted him to do.
Right. And at my age, if I was at that level of player and I had a chance to sign with him, there's no way I wouldn't do it. So, all the best to him and his family. And I hope that they are coping well. And let's just let's just tip our caps to him and thank him. Hey, you're the reason, you're part of the reason why we have so much access to this game over on this side of the world. He is one of the reasons why.
All right, Mike, what you got?
I mean, all I have to say is, no, don't want to speak ill of the dead, but the rumors were afoot that there were clubs would sign his smaller players with hopes of next year landing a bigger player. And I mean, I guess that works out great if you're one of his clients, but if you weren't one of his clients and you were denied an opportunity, I mean, that kind of sucks. That shouldn't be the way the world works. I hope it's not actually, and that's just the rumor mill. But, again, yes, he was too young to die and left an enormous impact on the sport.
I think it's easy to vilify him because he did his job.
Right.
Unless you're a professional athlete who's represented by one of these agents, most of us as fans are going to hate agents, especially super agents, because they get money and they negotiate contracts and they're always wheeling and dealing. And we look at them and you are denying us what we want by taking all of this money for this one guy. At the same time, though, his foremost job was to represent his clients. His job was not to act in Manchester United or Chelsea or Arsenal or Real Madrid's best interest. His job,
or even society's best interest. That wasn't his job.
His job was to do what was best for Paul Pogba, what was best for Erling Haaland, what was best for Romelu Lukaku. And so when he sits here and he says, I want $500 million as the baseline contract for Erling Haaland, we sit there and we say, okay, well, that prices my team out, or we can't do this, or that's ridiculous. But that's his job. That is why he got there. And the fact that he was so successful at doing this, he made a lot of players a lot of money. He made himself a lot of money. Love him, hate him, it's undeniable that he had an impact. And as Stead said, one of the reasons why we have what we have, the reason why we have the movement that we have, the reason why we have the access that we have, is because of the work that Mino Raiola did. So we recognize his passing. How you choose to feel about it, I'm going to leave up to you. But gentlemen, it has been super fun. I know we ran a little bit overtime today. We'll definitely be back next week with Mike to talk a little bit more about the lower league playoffs as we get into the business end of the season.
Yes, yeah, Mike, can I just cross?
Of course, because that's what you always
cross
do.
Promoing, dude. Don't worry. I'm gonna just everybody. If you haven't watched my lower league reports, this week I will go into further detail about the League One playoffs. I'll review all the League Two scenarios. There's a lot of them. And of course, we'll have our promotion celebrations and our in memoriams for the teams who got relegated. So if you're not already subscribed to the Too Many Guys Soccer Show, subscribe now and click that alert button so that when I put out my thing, you can just know.
All right, and we'll be back later on week. At least I will on Thursday to talk a little bit more, to do my European wrap up for the week. So we will be back next week. We've got to talk about the fallout from the weekend and the fallout from Europe, and a lot of dust will be settled by early next week. So, man, it's been fun and it went fast. I want to thank Coach G for coming on at the end of his season, and Los for coming on and talking about Real Madrid and Carlo Ancelotti and what that championship means to him. Celtic Cam for giving us his update from the land of enchantment. Coach Matt for coming on, talking a little bit about Manchester United. Professor Matt for coming on and giving us the update on Liverpool. And of course, I can't forget Chelsea Mike with his lower league update. I know that you probably missed Byron Robb. He was on vacation in Aruba, and we were not about to interrupt that. But I have an inkling that he will be back next week with not only his Bundesliga update, but an update on Aruban soccer. Yes, such a thing exists. And of course, producer Stead, who as always makes sure all of this runs on time. So for the cast of the Too Many Guys Soccer Show, I'm Mike. We did all right this week, and we'll try and do better next week. Have a good week.